There is no mistake to these emerald waters, or the whisper of autumn through her leaves, or the call of the hawk above the tallest trees that nestle in some September dream. How calm is the silence that calls so deep, yet asks us not to rest or sleep. It stirs within us what lies beneath, a solitude and peace so sweet that nothing can ignore it. This poem is called Lake Hope by Bob Orth. It's a privilege to read it to you. My name is Adele Brown. I live in South Bloomingville in the Hocking Hills of Ohio. Thank you for listening.
Pertinacious? What does this mean? I'm too stubborn to look it up.
Green, blue, red, or violet, all the colors we come in. Helium, oxygen, water that can fill us. The smile of a child from my flashing color to the pattern to the black from a red celebration. Up, up into the air I go, flying, flying higher than if I could possibly think if I would grow. One wrong move I could deflate. All the many pieces of me would never be put together again. We all start life simply, most in a store. Our creation began in a factory. Such is the life of a balloon.
Good evening and welcome to ABC News Adelaide Edition. I'm your host, Vanessa Rosen. Making news this evening, will Christmas be hot or not? But first, to tonight's edition of Pandemic Pros. And this evening's entrant is Dave Walters from Virginia in the USA. Old man, welcoming sleep, seeking rebirth in dreams, born poor and hungry, future prospects bleak, hopeless. He's thankful for white skin. Well, thank you for that very moving piece in Pandemic Pros this week, Dave. I feel I should give a helpline number at this point. If anybody is experiencing coming into contact with anybody who is elderly and is struggling, please ring 1-800 333 333 333 and tell them that you have a bewildered and unhappy old person on your hands. Back to you, Penny, in the studio.
Unlock the breath of winter beyond Solomon's song, laced in flowers by the church tower, playing to the winds of time. Just one more lyric that embraces the sky and sings to the stars.
Shades of gray are lovely on your walls, but not as a dance partner with the truth.
The rain dances outside the door in mystic autumn bliss that chases the leaves from their view. They fall one memory at a time, recalling summer days long gone. Now they glow with all the colors that sing of leaving the world behind. One leaf falls short of heaven. The crystal raindrop brings a shimmer of spring when the world again awakens. From the darkness, hope arises and tells one last tale that is not forgotten. Rain falls like tears that have cried 1,000,000 times, only to leave a lingering happy destiny beneath this rainbow of stars. This was The Rain by Bob Orth, and I'm Penny Grillo from MacArthur, Ohio.
Autotelectic mind. I will read until the lights go out.
The snow is the mist to the night. Flowers of winter bloom on a compass facing true north. The warmth of spring is just a memory of forgotten times. Now in a globe of glass, waiting for time to start. Broken into fragments of dreams where we all gather to piece together our thoughts. Now resting in a jar of fragrance open to daylight that magically appears as sparkles of summer's wind. Together, we are born. My name is Holly Echeverria Cruz, and I would like to wish you all the happiest of seasons, and I pray that you find peace.
You carry your beginning and your end at once. Cellular memory divine, majesty of painted wing. You are my totem. That was Mystic by Heidi Sloan.
As we travel the universe, beauty walks before us, behind us, below us, and above us. Because she's always on my side. We will always be together. Duchess, my American beauty, will live forever in my heart. By Stephanie Metz. My name is Amaria, and I'm coming from Giza, Egypt.
Memories. There's a hole in the sky where the maple tree once stood. Its limbs no longer reach the heavens or cradle the stars in its arms. Now it speaks with a silence and an emptiness only we could know. Who remembers its majestic presence? It was rooted in the soul of the earth as it swayed gently in the wind. It was a giant among other giants that sheltered the smallest signs of life. It could bow its leafy head in a canopy of dreams. Its sap was sweet and melted the winter air with its juices. It rested at the core of every nearby scene where its song could be heard for miles around. All our days are numbered in the wind, like the hair on our head, when we are glad not to be counting. Now the days are memories that fill an empty space. There's a hole in the sky where the maple tree once stood.
In scratched out, lifeless symbols, thoughts become words. They animate. Intentions roar through time and space, demanding to be heard. Their power shatters the silence.
The days grow shorter with their solstice dreams for one long moment at a time. The north winds advance with a prayer on the snow that falls like tears upon a barren ground, where the stars once reached the heavens with their false pride, begging for the silence of winter's song. You knew me in my daydream, in the inflection of tomorrow's disguise, when we knelt in gratitude to the evening sky. Sometimes stories don't have an ending, but what waits for us on the other side, counting each moment with a generous eye. The days disappear into midnight, when the moon reaches its fullest expression that punctuates this truth beyond the lies. In the summer, the equinox beckons with all the living that is brought forward on days that seem to go on forever. They unmask the present and shed light on a future yet to be born, when ghosts dance in the image of their song. Changing Seasons by Bob Orth. My name is Nate Cojan Hayes, and I live in Athens, Ohio.
Okay, this is like take 5. I don't know what's wrong. It's like one verse, but I don't know why it's take 5. I think the whole family wants to try to, they're all giving me direction. Anyway, this is Suzanne, and I'm reading a poem today. And I'm reading it to you from Cairo, where there is very little doubt that I will get any snow this year for Christmas, but you can see I do my best to get some Christmas around me. But if only I could get some snow, it would be cool. Soft surprise, a feathery light, newly quilted blanket of white, over the sleeping woods is laid, a wintry stillness, a blessing made.
Back in the way back now time, I lived on a farm that didn't have fences or rules. I mean, there were rules, I think, but I couldn't make heads or tails of them. I would get swatted really hard. Sometimes people kicked me. That hurt. It hurt my feelings too. So most of the time, I did what I wanted. I loved to chase things. I chased an animal called a deer, but I could never catch one. One day, I chased a really fun animal with feathers. I caught one, but pretty soon it wouldn't run or flop around, and it wasn't very fun anymore. Then my human beat me up and kicked me till I was really sore. Then my human gave me to another human. I didn't like that at all. There was a high fence around the yard. I couldn't get over it. I checked. I was in jail. There was a long rope tied to me, and my new human would speak. Human, come, Scout. Then she would pull on the rope until I was right in front of her. I was scared. I was sure I was going to get beaten or kicked, but the strangest thing happened. She scratched my ears and gave me a tasty biscuit. Other things changed too. Sometimes there were delicious smells coming from the table or the kitchen counter. Oh no, I thought, here comes the kick. But instead, my human held me close to the exciting place and said one word. No. Got that? No. Capital letters. Same thing happened with the trash can. That turned out to be a real disaster. Garbage all over the floor, and I got my face rubbed on every piece. My human put it back in the trash can. What a drag. Eventually, I got the hang of this new setup. For one thing, I never got slapped or kicked. And I was learning human words. That helped me to know what was expected of me. The snacks I got were great too. I was never hungry. But I couldn't eat any time I wanted to. I got in trouble for helping myself. Yep, more no, while the dog kibbles put back in the bag. It took me a while to catch on to my new human's ways. She said I had ADHD. I'm pretty sure that means adorable, delightful, happy, dependable. And that's me for sure. So now I'm learning to help with the sheep. You need to have all those ADHD things to work with the sheep. That's me. ADHD Scouty, the Border Collie sheepdog.
I feel you in the rain, riding on the wind. Your voice is a whisper, a caressing breeze, always out of reach. Hi! My name's Jessica Williams. I am originally from MacArthur, Ohio. However, I am currently in Dayton, Miamisburg. Just thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Penny, for the opportunity. It's been fun.
A dewdrop of water easily filled the thimble that was left on the table outside. Droplets on the ground make my feet wet as I walk across the grass. A puddle nearby catches my attention, and I look for my reflection in it, but I see nothing. Only stagnant water stares back at me. I ask myself, is there more to me than what meets the eye?
It's interesting that no one answers in the vacuum of the spaces between us where God used to live. We're drawn together by speechless realities, where the lesser of two evils can haunt our dreams. I cannot be a magician waving solutions with the wand of time, wherein the heart is only now. The world is overwhelmed when it loses the music of the heart or the magic of our dreams. So many things disappear into empty spaces that have no heart. Love is all there is or ever was. It falls away from us like the last drop of rain, where all that is left are the tears. The world embraces us and won't let go, yet I know that my home is beyond its horizon. The stars are the river stones in another dimension, where I can fall forever through the light.
Seeing the image of our flag in times such as these can stir our emotion, perhaps bring us to our knees.
Pay attention to the trees, the standing ones. Hear them whisper to the wind. Pay attention to life. It is here today, gone tomorrow. All life is short, yet longing. Pay attention to the winged ones in flight. The sky is home and their breath is air. Hear what they sing to us. Pay attention to death. Yesterday is gone, but today is here and all around us. Pay attention to the earth, our mother, who brings forth the seasons time and time again. Hear her speak the reasons for our dreaming. Pay attention to the highest hills and blades of grass, all that is equal in the eyes of the Creator. Dance with a prayer in your heart to the sounds of beauty all around you. At night, see the flicker of starlight in the womb of our collective awakening. Once the crow sang sweet as the robin welcomed the flowers of spring. Pay attention, awaken to the world around you. Look around, listen, do not let it escape you. Go as the crow flies. By Bob Orth. My name is Amaria, and I'm coming from Giza, Egypt. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Debbie McNally. I'm a retired high school librarian. I work with Penny a lot at the library. Today I'm reading a poem called Voices by Dave Walters. I hear clearly the ignorance of others. What do they hear?
Heidi Sloan was found dead today at the tender age of 49. Her body was found covered in a pile of mess, surrounded by loudly meowing cats and one plump, whimpering dog, who was very handsome. The cause of death is thought to be some strange combination of foul litter box odors combined with a toxic amount of isopropyl alcohol inhalation. Heidi is survived by a passel of beautiful and needy cats, her parents, and her very handsome, if slightly plump, dog. She was a teacher. an actress, a bread baker, and a fat belly dancer. Her toenails and roots were disgraceful, and her death is a crushing loss to needy cats and fat but handsome dogs everywhere.
Eddie by Elisa Cassio. The children started back to school the first week of August. They followed the old horse trail through the woods on their property to the schoolhouse on the other side. Eddie was happy to learn more about numbers and fractions, and the first day of school went smoothly for him and his siblings, except when they were walking back home. The Norwegian children taunted them, saying, "Sweetie, sweetie, stuck in straw, all you say is ya, ya, ya." Eddie gathered his brothers and sisters around him and hurried on. He didn't want to scrap with those Norwegian kids who were so much bigger and stronger. He just wanted to get home quickly. His sisters almost drove him mad with their skipping and singing little songs, especially Kadja. She had her head in the clouds way too much, Eddie thought. After supper, Papa asked each one of the children to sit with him in the parlor and tell them all about their days at school. When they finished, he cautioned them, "Mama needs her quiet to rest because the new baby will come anytime. No shouting or stomping or running up the stairs." So the children washed and got ready for bed as quickly and quietly as they could and went down to Mama to say their prayers. Poor Mama was so miserable. But after prayers, she read them a short story before they all kissed her goodnight and went to bed, wondering what the next day would bring. The following day, Eddie was thinking about fractions and also whether or not the baby had arrived as he was walking home from school with his siblings. As usual, he had to keep Kadja from getting behind when she spotted a pretty butterfly or an interesting rock, because she just didn't pay attention. When they got home, poor Mama was in hard labor. This baby was taking forever and she was exhausted. But finally, she was holding a new child, and she named her Selma, which means beautiful. The perfect name for a daughter, born with a full head of curly hair. Papa gently gave them each a kiss and covered Mama up with a light blanket, then withdrew to the parlor where he thanked God for their healthy baby and that his beloved Marta had survived her long, difficult labor. The older children, Olaf and Inga, had been taking care of things during this time, and Papa went to the kitchen to join them for a snack. He tried to listen to their chatter, but he felt very tired and sleepy, so he made himself a little pallet on the floor of the parlor to sit near Marta and fell into a deep sleep. Inga and Olaf eventually left the kitchen to get some much-needed rest. When Eddie and the children woke up the next morning, good smells were drifting up the stairs. He yawned and rubbed his eyes. He suddenly jumped out of bed, almost knocking Carl over. "Lipstick!" Made with potato flour rolled out flat, hot lefse with butter and sugar was a delicious special treat. All the children thundered down the steep stairs to the water basin on the back porch. Carl reached the outhouse first, which left Eddie and Amanda jumping up and down until they could take their turns. It was going to be a good day. Author's note. Sadly, Marta, my great-grandmother, developed a fever and hemorrhaged and passed away a few days later. Papa, who was my great-grandpa Eric, kept his family together. He held on to his faith in God and kept his lumber mill open, but he mourned his beloved Marta for the rest of his long life of 90 years. The boy Eddie was my grandpa. Polio later twisted his spine and he was bedridden for a very long time. He never got to go back to school, but he worked in the lumber mill in the office. After he recovered and learned to walk again, Eddie eventually did learn accounting at the age of 39. He met and married Elsie Elisa Hecko, my grandmother.
Ask the sky. The light shines in tiny fragments that glisten upon the shore, waiting for their time to tell what is insignificant and what is real. I have seen the world splinter into fragments that the eye can't see, one disbelief at a time, now welded into uncertainty. The sun shines bright as the stars that deny this darkness one last time. Shadows dance in the moonlight for the longest song that surrounds my dreams with reality, a frequent friend of my imagination that knows no limits. Just ask the sky what embraces the earth.
Death by Policy by Dave Walters. No queen, no king. Left on the board, just young pawns being moved by a cruel hand.
Guilty looks enter tree bores. A fubble enter English languish. One's upin a tomb. They wear tree bores, who loved in her toony horse and her bag words. There wear their great bag poo-poo bore, their muddle-sized moo-moo bore, and her way toony boo-boo bore. When do moo-moo bore mud partridge for brokefest? She poured der partridge in her bag bale for poo-poo bore, and into muddle-sized bale for hair, and enter way ladle bale for der way ladle boo-boo bore. And they tree bores went for a wook in der words, will der partridge killed if. Saw they wouldn't barn der moths. Thin will they bores were wooking inner words. Guilty looks comb to der tree bore's horse. She leaked in her wander, and Sue der horse lucked in tea, and she nicked in her dare. Nick, nick, nick. New biddy were ham. Saw guilty looks whooped in her der horse. She Sue der tree bales if partridge in her tubble. First, she tested der big bale if Poopa Bear's partridge. Eek, eek, she said. Dis partridge is to hoot. Nix she tested der muddle-seized bale if partridge. Eek, eek, she said. Dis partridge is to killed. And lust she tested der way toony bale if porridge. Yim yim, she said, dis partridge es juice rot. And she oat it ill lump. Nix she soot in her bag chore if der poo-poo bore. Nix she soot in her bag chore if der poo-poo bore. Eek eek, dis chore as too hoard, she said, and nix she soot in her muddle-sized chore. Eek eek, dis chore as toe sift, she said. And she soot in her way ladle chore, and at were juice rot. And she waggled in her chore, and funnily it brick doon, and guilty looks
field to her flower. Nix she want in her bud room, and low doon in her bag bud off her bag bore. Eek, eek, she said. Dis bud is to-ho in her head. And nix she lowed in muddle-seized bud. Eek, eek, dis bud is to-ho in her fit. And then she lowed in her way ladle bud, if der boo-boo bore. Yahoo, she said, dis bud is juice rot. And she fell fast aslop. Knew der tree boars comb ham. Somebody been oating me partridge, said der popo bar. In Hawes Griff Vice. Somebody been oating me partridge, said sad Moo Boar in her muddle vice. Somebody been oating me partridge and oat it ill up, creed Boo Boo Boar in House Toony Vice. Then der tree boars chicked their tree chores. Somebody been sooting in me chore, sad Poo Poo Boar. Somebody been sooting in me chore, sad Moo Moo Boar. Somebody been sooting in me chore, creed Boo Boo Boar. Enter bricket elope. Enter tree boars woot enter their bud room. Somebody been slooping in me bud, said Poo Poo Boar. Somebody been slooping in me bud, said Moo Moo Boar. Somebody been slooping in me bud. And there she as, creed Boo Boo Boar. Juiced in, guilty looks, wake up, and sutter tree boars. She jammed otter their bud, and rain as fest as she could. And her tree boars dud knit so guilty looks offer after.
Doesn't matter that we mindlessly follow the same patterns, oblivious to something important that's drifting away. We strut and fret our way through these shrinking days. Time fades as we float in circles, till we awaken to the truth that has always been. Has anything ever really mattered? That was Shrug by Penny Alzaire, and I'm Tyler Gosling. I'm in MacArthur, Ohio.
Greetings from Cairo. This is Suzanne with my promised performance of a beautiful poem called Roadway to the Stars. As you can see over my shoulder, it's nighttime and there is a starry night, but those lights are actually coming from the River Nile. I've got a lovely view up here on the 20th floor in my son's studio, and where the creativity takes place. And so, as promised, I'm going to read this poem. Roadway to the Stars. In the shadow of dreams once pictured in age is a message magnified by time, now remembered as a seashell enclosed by the sands of time, in broken hourglass of reality. We journey in a journal pressed by a beaded necklace, surrounded by a heart of gold, spreading its wings like a bird that escapes into the heavens and leaves a lasting impression. I listen to the sea in a seashell, ever open to this roadway to the stars.
Power. A struck match, a flame with potential, yet extinguished by a puff of air.
Navajo Weaver. Spirit messengers were woven into the clean wool of patterned eyes. 3 triangles and a cross made up the face, so intent that you could not miss the stare. The symbol for the 4 seasons marked 4 corners, and the faces were inverted double images, twice spoken. The edging was the jagged waves of the ocean, and the faces were joined by a diagonally crossed square, as the tops of the heads looked like steps. Lightning bolts depicting a wired power emanated from the center. I could believe that spirits danced from within. Some magic stroke of genius had existed before time began. It was evident in the weave, in the minute patterns that reach us from centuries unknown. It was the eternal tale of unspoken language, a picture that said more than 1,000 words. The color was brilliant in detail, and as intricate as the web of a spider that welcomed us into a nest of fragile dreams. The Navajo Weaver had made a blanket of messages that could put us together. Lifted carefully, it would serve us well to remember what open spaces had once filled our horizon.
The last election ever. How to respond. The mob and the dictator stole the country. The loss of compassion, clarity, truth, and promise for future generations. The death of democracy is a loud cry of anguish.
The Dragonfly. Autumn is like a clock that rings too late in the morning for the robin to come calling. The dragonfly leads a meager life in the cold, floating from one destiny to another. When it arrives, it looks as perplexed as a warm summer rain. The herd has disbanded. Its common instinct to what senses feel is a better reward. So off we go, one by one, to Never Never Land.
Feline tastes. The cat is craving something divine. It prowls in the early days of summer, looking for a fine meal as night has just passed. Morning dew collects on the beast's paws as it moves through the grass. It reaches the sidewalk and stops and uses its paw to groom its ear. Continuing on the pavement, the cat is stopped by a particular substance on the ground. If it could read the label on the food, it says Baz ice cream. But the cat cannot read. It eyes and sniffs the melted dairy, then puts a paw in it and shakes. Curiously, the cat takes a lick. It's sweet. And it reminds the cat of long ago times with Mother. A sudden noise startles the feline. It runs into a garden where a woman is sitting on her porch, enjoying coffee. This poem is by Gigi Iser. My name is Del Brown. I live in South Bloomingville in the Hocking Hills of Ohio. Thank you for listening.
Bokur. Smoke rises through heat in the deep closeness as a slow breeze bells the walls. The sun is pressed out, a thick golden oil, and treads everything in slow motion. I taste last night's fire and pull back sweaty hair at my mirror in the velvet dark. What good is money to me, who burns gold as perfume? silken walls and pearls for chains. All is tumbled down on the charnel heap. I don't need the scent or the memory. Scent and scented and center are all me. Olena Wilshineski.
Rain on a tin roof. Drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, pitter patter, drop, drop, pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter, crash, boom, pitter patter, boom, splash, pitter patter, drip, drip, pitter patter, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, 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 drip, drip.
Short poems are succinct, a single thought, a razor cut, a ribbon of blood. Not deadly, but demanding attention.
The Appalachian caves rippled and rolled, hard, stony layers built over time, able to provide shelter, to grow new life out of a hard and stony shell. Time and weather and seasons cannot stop what comes forth. That was by H.C. Iser, author of Feather in the Straw. And I am Meredith Jensen. I am a librarian and also a writer. I live here in Athens County in a small little hollow on the banks of the Hocking River with my partner, Jamie, 2 teenage daughters, and an umbrella cockatoo parrot named Rocky.
My yearning. Autumn lies dormant, still contemplating the fragrant colors of dawn. The patchwork of stars lies splendid in repose that mark the Arctic freeze with the chilly winds of time, matched by a brisk breeze that chills to the bone. Come, laugh in the dance of dreams, now sealed in the winter's quest for another spring that awaits yesterday's song. The evergreen is frosted in the snow of my yearning, one step away from tomorrow. Bob Orth. Namaste. This is Nimisha from India. I'm a Mehndi artist and co-founder of Mehndi Culture. Mehndi Culture is a social initiative working for women through Mehndi. Thank you.
Tears have names. They are like blind cats bumping into every alley. They are salt that soak an ocean and leave no last trace of emotion. They are the water of hollow bones that have no sound but what pulls the strings of the heart. They are the chords of heaven's harp and the death knell of our imaginary hell. I play no magic sound as beautiful as the time you weep for me, nor does the robin sing as well as the willow boughs. So love will have to tell. Weeping Willows by Bob Orth, and I'm Homa Databoy from Pasadena, California.
This is Vanessa Rosen in South Australia, Adelaide, sending my love and greetings to everyone and best wishes. This is Starfield Night by Bob Orth. There are windows in the light, and the doors of a winter wind leave me standing cold upon the threshold of another night. when darkness comes. Its empty fingers strip the colours of dawn from the trees, and the wind whispers in the branches the songs of an autumn breeze. At times I like to walk on empty streets, among buildings that are like empty trees. It is then I would give them all their colours, and in their silence, the sun as golden leaves. So it is that you become a window upon the light, and every door that opens beyond the threshold of another dawn. When last I saw the glow and the whispering wind of another star-filled autumn night.
Hi, my name's Persia Rosen. I'm from Adelaide, South Australia, and I'll be performing Alone. What is the most profound type of loneliness? Being physically isolated can sometimes be therapeutic. Having time to think deeply, focus and concentrate, or to simply be still, quiet, listen to the whistling wind. Is profound loneliness the absence of physical affection? We can get skin hungry, you know? Some of us need those demonstrations, even when it's a pat on the back or a reassuring squeeze of the hand. Is it being in a crowded room, absent from meaningful connection to others, or is it being home, the very place we came screaming into the world from, where we become most acutely aware of how out of sync we are, that we feel our isolation most painfully?
Hello, I'm John Rosen. I'm from Adelaide, and this is Worth Believing by Bob Orth. What yoke is broken beyond the bonds of tomorrow that ensnared me in so many unforgiving ways? Were I to pursue lesser dreams, it would not matter, nor would the outcome be any different. It is written solely for the pleasure of lesser expectation that I could somehow achieve so much more, yet feel so little relief in the balance. This vagueness itself is an evasion that has me spinning troubled nights and taller tales. Somehow each detail isn't worth believing. We are not heroes deep down in our bones. Somehow, even the mildest shadows snare our sensibility. It doesn't take much, and so deserving are we, that it doesn't have to reach far beyond our understanding.
The day is done that comes tomorrow, with dreams of yesterday gone wrong. What fleeting moment reaches into the present that lingers despite all questions? I've watched with curiosity all the tall tales that have manifested their own truth, only to be shunned in reckless abandon. One diamond glistens like a midnight song, sang off key to latent lyrics that only the night can interpret. We danced in December to end all years with another spring that falls into a harvest of dreams. The night embraces this illusion that knocks on the door and opens to my heart one last time.
In Paris, church bells ring. In London, fireworks dazzle the night sky. Here, angry tears of denial, bitterness and disbelief, but the air stirs. And all that fire is swallowed by a powerful flood. It's the tears of those who weep with gratitude. Hope stirs. They tentatively rise up, and together they survey the salted land. Then a humble vessel stumbles, but takes another step, and then another. His stride grows, and he lifts an olive branch, inviting us all to turn the page together and to remember who we are. Let's try this again. System Restore, Author Anonymous. I'm Wes Dunlap from Columbus, Ohio.
By the soft light of the moon, 3 figures paused their way to admire the falling flakes, all of them mesmerized. No one broke the silence. They just stood for a time, watching as the village was blanketed in sparkling snow. The 2 little girls gripped their father's hand tightly as the walk resumed. Their little legs struggled to keep up with his longer stride on the slippy sidewalk. Others were venturing out, everyone bundled up against the cold, and they all headed for the centre of the village. Along the way, they were greeted by the rosy smiles, waves, and laughter of their friends and neighbours. Simple pleasures were often shared in just this way in those days, without planning of any kind, and really for no reason at all, except that it was the first snowfall of the year.
I woke with sorrow in my heart. It happens on occasion. Nothing specific, nothing defined, but well known and recognized, that old friend or foe, sorrow. On the verge and at the ready, tears stood guard over the flow in and out of thoughts and reflects today's events. Nothing happened. Nothing will. Not today. But still, it's there. Right there.
Peace. There is no way to peace, because peace itself is the way. It is the ward of a moonlit night that dances like stars in the eyes of tomorrow. It is the highest mountains, the snow-covered peaks of distant ranges. It is the milk, the nurtured breast that is fed from the womb and weaved from the fabric of the soul. It is the noise and silence, all at the same time, somewhere short of nothing. There is no peace without justice, no rest for the weary, for one heartfelt touch. Find your place in a universe unescaped. Heal your wounds with this wand, this mitre and tiara.
Let your heart break with this suffering, understanding what polarizes us into this immovable mass. Be a voice for the voiceless.